Holy, there's a lot of stuff going on in this one. The beauty of assessing an amp, doing a quote, and then forgetting all about it because it's 2 months till you can get back to it is it's like opening a new amp once you open it again. So it's sort of like I'm seeing this for the first time along with you guys. So yep, spidey sense tingling all over the shop. You got all sorts of stuff going on. You got optos all over the place. You got solder joints barely hanging on by a thread. So here's a bias cap that failed, gone short circuit, which is rare. Normally, the most common failure mode of electrolytics in my experience, and that is electrolytic. Don't let the fact that it's molded fool you. There is a positive there. It's just a sealed electrolytic. The most common fault mode is they go open circuit, so essentially their ESR tries to approach infinity, and it's like they're not in circuit at all, so they basically have no effect on the circuit. They don't be a capacitor, they just be a nothing. But in this case, it's gone hard short, and that took the bias all the way to ground, and that led to the output stage blowing the mains fuse. So disconnecting that, not even subbing one. I'm not sure if that was, I think it's from the factory, but there is the original cap down over here. So not having that in circuit at all, it was pretty quiet, so I'm not sure why they added another node there, but anyway. So having a look down the front end, we've got all our original, I think they're Tektronix is the brand. The blue caps anyway, they almost never, I don't think I've ever seen one of them fail. They're very reliable, so if you ever see some dickhead, oh, I'll replace all your film caps because they all fail. The blue ones don't fail, neither do the brown ones that look like a wombat poo. They don't fail either, not in my experience. Don't let them rip them all out and put orange drops in there and charge you $15 a pop, because that's horse shit. Alright, so a quick look at our little foot switch arrangement. You got the white wire here, which goes to the speaker jack. You got the orange wire here, which goes to output transformer secondary. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought it was just a single pole, single throw. So that's switching the speaker output between the output jack and the dummy load. So it's like a mute switch, but leaving the power amp on. So I guess that's to use the line out. What a weird setup. That must have been specifically for whoever commissioned this originally, but yeah, that's all coming out. There's no need for any of that. Not in the use case that this customer intends to use the amp for anyway. Alright, so looking down here, we've got all the original bypass caps. We've got some cathode resistor value changes there. Looks like they popped another one with silicon to separate the cathodes on the first valve. That's quite a common mod. You got optocoupler city. You got Vactrols everywhere. So that's all the stuff we won't disturb, but we'll just dress up the solder joints, make sure everything's solid. A lot of these eyelets aren't filled in. Not that you have to, but if you're not going to fill them in, then I want to see a wrap at least 270 degrees around that eyelet. You've got a massive 1000 microfarad 35 volt cap attached to the heaters? What? The ground to the heater, the positive up here. So if that's a local filter for the Vactrol supply, which it looks like it may be, why have they tied that to the heater? The negative to the heater. Is it capacitively coupling from the heater supply? Is that what they've done? Alright, so it's got a diode coming from the same heater line, assuming that wire doesn't cross over, which it does. Okay, so you got a capacitor attached to one side of the heater, and you got a diode coming from the other side of the heater. So they're deriving the supply for the optocouplers from the heater supply, and then they've got some local filtering down here. Well, that's one way of doing it. The other option is you could just do what Mesa Boogie do and tap everything off the bias supply. But then you got to drop the hell out of the voltage, and that can be inefficient as well. I don't know, it seems to be working. Let's roll with it, eh? Okay, so down here, we've got some of the values have been changed to like black face values from the silver face, because you would have had 330 grid leaks there. And this is the phase inverter. Oddly, the board doesn't have that big thick layer of wax on it. I reckon whoever did this, whether it was Rivera or whoever, probably took the wax off the board, because then you've got silicon on some components. So I reckon maybe that was part of the service you provided. De-waxing the board, maybe. I don't know, very hard to tell. I know he's still out there somewhere. If he stumbles across this video, I'm sure he's done 5 billion amps after this one and wouldn't remember it all, but that'd be a bit much to ask, I think, reasonably. But yeah, it would be really interesting to know what was the story behind the commissioning of this heavily modified amplifier. Alright, up this end we've got the center tap for the HT and the bias ground attached to... The bias ground? No, one of the filter cap grounds attached to transformer hardware. It's not great. I'll be redoing that and giving it its own dedicated grounding point. We've got looks like we've got an added cap here. Not sure if they've repurposed one of the other nodes and then had to bring in the... What is that? Is that the screen node? Got the screen resistor there. No, that's the B+. So they might have added some B+ filtering there. Alright, we've got some added filtering here. I'm not sure what the story is with that. Is that the... No, that's the B+. So they may have repurposed one of the other nodes on the cap board. I'll have to check that out and look very closely. Modded amps, you got to be so wary of everything. They may have just added some filtering to the B+ to stiffen her up a bit, but I'll check that out. Got the original screen grid resistors. I'll check them for drift, but I think we'll replace them preemptively anyway because they love to go very, very high, not in a fun way. These caps across the output valves, probably why the whole thing sounds a bit muffled. During the CBS era of Fender, they stopped relying on skilled labour, which means the wiring got a lot sloppier. A lot longer runs where they would have neatly run something. I mean, you look over here, you've just got... big long wires that don't need to be that long, just thrown in. The pre-CBS era, they were a lot neater and tidier, took a lot more pride in the work, but the result of all of this was you started getting some parasitic oscillations, some crosstalk, that kind of stuff. So capitalism being what it is, instead of improving and going back to a higher, standard of product, they had to think up ways to make the amplifier saleable, not necessarily as good as it could be, but able to make money for the company. While still using these cheaper methods and cheaper unskilled labour to assemble them. So they started doing things like adding snubber caps, which you can see on the valve sockets down there for the 6L6s. Things to damp down oscillation in various places. Some people like the sound if you were going for that. A bit pretty heavy roll off on the top end, but you lose a lot of that Fender sparkle on the clean. You know, the sparkle that we know and love. Sparkle, sparkle! So sometimes removing those caps can open it back up again, give you that airy top end, as long as you combine it with some neater lead dress where it matters. We've still got the depth cap there, the ground cap on the ground switch. We'll disconnect that. Now we have a 3-prong plug in there. Completely useless if you've got a 3-prong plug because the grounding pin does all the work for you. At least it does in this country where we've got decent wiring standards. Right down here we've got our main safety earth attached to the transformer hardware. That's no good at all. I will be drilling a hole over here for that dedicated point. You can solder to the chassis, but I like to... oh, we've got a hole there we can drill to actually. That's handy. I'll just put an eyelet, locking eyelet there with the usual stainless screw, flat washer, spring washer, and nylock nut. I will say it in every episode because you guys need that drummed into you, all you boutique builders out there. And conveniently down here we've got another hole where we can mount the heater balance resistors without having to drill anything, so that's fan-bloody-tastic. And for the less critical grounds, well, less critical in terms of safety, critical in terms of sound quality, we can solder them directly to the chassis, but they're not under any stress from, the cord being pulled out or anything like that. So that's nice. Down here we've got a little ball of solder floating around. You can play hockey down there on the bottom of the chassis. Just curious what kind... I don't know how many techs this amp's been through, but what kind of tech doesn't notice that they just dropped 0.5 kilogram of solder into the bottom of the chassis and just leave it there? Yeah. Dunno, it takes all types, I guess. Right, so here's our new Hammond with a bent bolt courtesy of Mouse's packing prowess or lack thereof. They just put the transformer box in another box and it's just fucking chaos. It's like Chain Chomp from whatever what is it, Donkey Kong or whatever, just rolling around in some truck, just fucking itself up. By the time it gets here, it's just a ball of shredded cardboard and and tears. But luckily, that's the only damage. If you ever order a transformer, particularly internationally, that's hard to say at this hour of the morning with only half a coffee down my gullet, just order a transformer by itself. Don't order anything else with it, because it's like throwing it in a fucking blender with a transformer. They never pack them correctly. They just throw them in a bigger box and out they go. So order your transformer by itself. Pretty easy to get under the free shipping threshold with that anyway, because the transformer is going to blow you out by at least 150-ish bucks. And save all your delicate parts, in particular tubes, valves, because they'll just end up a big bag of smashed glass if they're in the same box as this thing. So champions, as is par for the course, I'm going to get stuck into this thing, clean her up, and make it as good as it can be with the given infrastructure. Replace that transformer, do a recap, do a bunch of solder touch-ups and lead dress touch-ups, maybe remove those snubbers, see if we can get a bit of air into this thing, get it sounding nice, and show you the work in progress when I'm halfway through, and then when we're finished up. So spread it around like heatsink paste on the back of your head after you've worked on a solid state amp. And for us Aussies, spread it around like sunscreen, because, you know, share, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know, the YouTube bullshit. And I'll see you on the next one.